This Chiefs wide receiver just won over the entire coaching staff and may have just locked up the number 6 wide receiver spot. In this video, we're going to talk about who this player is, address some of the comments made by Dave Toub, and also talk about how this player is going to fit in the Chiefs offense. But if you guys are new to this channel, my name is Michael Darcy and you're watching the KC Sports Report. Do me a big time favor and hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel for more daily Chiefs coverage. Now, if you guys haven't already guessed, the player that has been super impressive so far in camp is none other than wide receiver Nico Riho. Riho was a training camp darling a couple years ago, then he had that season-ending injury, and then last year he had a very good camp, made the team, and didn't have a huge role, but you kind of saw towards the end of the season when the Chiefs were, going through some things and sitting players, he made an impact. And in that final game of the season against the Denver Broncos, keep in mind he had Carson Wentz throwing him the football, Nico Riho was the only player on that field that looked good. And so it's no surprise that so far early in, 2025 training camp that Nico Riho has been one of the, guys to take note of. And in fact, I want to read this quote from special teams coordinator Dave Toub, who said, quote, "Nico is far and above everybody else right now. He just keeps getting better. He doesn't make any mistakes. He will catch every ball and he's dependable. I'm excited about Brashard Smith too." So, two things. It's great that Nico Riho has earned that trust from Dave Toub because last year you saw Riho take over, on special teams and he carved out a role. And so, I think that going forward, he's going to have a chance to continue to carve out a role on special teams and potentially win that job out of camp. And he also mentioned that Brashard Smith is someone that he likes as well. Brashard Smith is going to be someone that Chiefs fans absolutely fall in love with because he has that Jerick McKinnon ability to catch the ball out of the backfield and use that electric speed that he had as a wide receiver and get big gains. But the only question with Smith is, can he, be good in pass blocking? Can he be on the field in third down situations when you need your running back to be a good, blocking back? And so it's going to take him some time to, learn that. But overall, Nico Riho earning the trust of this coaching staff and showing them how dependable he is only going to help his chances of making the roster. And in fact, we talked about this yesterday, who I thought was going to have a chance to be that number 6 wide receiver. And in my mind, it's two players. It's Tyquan Thornton and Nico Riho. And based off that quote by Dave Toub, I have a feeling that Tyquan Thornton is going to have to work very hard to, joust Riho from that spot. I think that, Riho, not only did he show what he could do last year, but the Chiefs are very hesitant to go off their guys. And what I mean by that is if you've made the team before, you are going to have a much better shot of making it again. Because oftentimes the Chiefs will, develop players over a long period of time. And a perfect example is even when, not Nico Riho, when Jody Fortson was just carving it up in training camp, he didn't make the final 53 the first time around. It took him, I want to say a couple years on the practice squad until he finally cracked the roster, and it was only because he showed his worth on special teams. And Riho's definitely ahead of the game in terms of being a special teamer, but if he could actually, be this team's punt returner and be a guy that can be consistent, he could be the number 6 wide receiver, and he might actually get some snaps, some reps at wide receiver with the whole Rashee Rice suspension that's looming and, the injuries that we've seen happen to Hollywood Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster in the past. I do think that if Nico Riho continues to show what he can do in training camp, he's probably going to be the Chiefs' number 6 wide receiver. And I do want to hear from you guys down in the comment section below. What do you think of the possibility of Nico Riho being the Chiefs' number 6 wide receiver? Do you like him? Do you like Tyquan Thornton? Who do you think is going to win that battle? And if Riho is the Chiefs' number 6 receiver, is there any chance that Tyquan Thornton makes it? Or is he a practice squad player? We have seen Tyquan Thornton make some pretty impressive catches so far in training camp. But guys, it's training camp. Not always the results you see on the practice field translate to being a solid NFL player. Justin Ross is a perfect example of that. Someone that the Chiefs kingdom fell in love with. And yeah, he made the roster a couple of years ago, but he was never good. He never really carved out a role in this offense. And it's because it is so incredibly hard to go from being an undrafted free agent to a producer in the Chiefs offense. We're not talking about, any old regular offense, the Chiefs offense. And granted, they may not have been the high-flying unit that they have been in years past last year, but there's a pedigree with playing with Patrick Mahomes and coached by Andy Reid. And I just think that it's so hard for UDFA guys to make a normal NFL roster. And if they can contribute in the Chiefs offense, that speaks more of the level of player that they are and less about just, the offense, because it is extremely hard to carve out a role. I mean, there's just so many different things that go into learning the playbook, and Nico Riho has applied himself to that. And since he made the roster last year, I think there is a very good shot that he makes it again. But I do want to hear from you guys down in the comment section below, and I do want to talk more about how the Chiefs offense might utilize a Nico Riho, and we'll do that right after this ad break. This video is sponsored by my great friends over at DM Injury Law. Injured in an accident, you could be entitled to significant compensation, but time is of the essence. Rely on the experienced personal injury attorneys at DM Law, Kansas City and Missouri's top injury law firm. DM Law is a full-service personal injury practice supported by a large team of investigators, case managers, medical record specialists, and more. And best of all, you don't pay unless they win. DM Law operates on a contingency fee basis, so no fees unless they win your case. And they also provide free consultations. So if you've been injured, don't wait. You can contact DM Law today for a free consultation and learn how they can help you pursue the compensation you deserve. Let them handle the fight while you focus on healing. Hurt in a car wreck? Call Mike. Remember, Mike's got this. The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisement. Thanks to DM Injury Law for sponsoring this video. The Hollywood Casino at Kansas Speedway is the place to be. With over 1,500 slot machines, 35 table games, 4 restaurants, and a new ESPN Bet sportsbook, there are plenty of ways to find your fun. For more chances to win, follow them on social media on Facebook, Instagram, and X. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Special thanks to the sponsors that have supported this channel all offseason long. Now, how should the Chiefs utilize Nico Riho? There's a lot of people out there that think that a guy like either Sky Moore or Tyquan Thornton or Justin Ross was a perfect example back when he was on the practice squad or even on the final 53, that someone towards the bottom of the depth chart is going to have some giant impact on the offense. And guys, for the most part, that's just not how it works. The guys at the top of your wide receiver core are going to get most of your production. You're going to see guys like Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice and Hollywood Brown, and I would even put Juju Smith-Schuster in that category because Juju is a veteran. He knows this offensive system, and even though he might not have the same level of talent that he did back in 2022, his skill and his skill and the relationship that he has with Patrick Mahomes and this offense, he is going to be lumped in with the guys that are going to be producers, and Nico Riho might not get a ton of catches. In fact, I don't know if the Chiefs are going to target him much on a weekly basis, but that's not really why he's making this team. When you talk about who is going to be the number 6 wide receiver or who is going to be the 4th tight end or the 4th running back, the question is, can that player play on special teams? Carson Steele, a perfect example of this. He made the team last year, and while he was listed as a halfback, a fullback, he was used more traditionally as a fullback, and he got a little bit of snaps as a running back, but he emerged on special teams. You have to be able to, play special teams on this team to earn a roster spot if you're not an Isaiah Pacheco, if you're not a Rashee Rice or an Xavier Worthy. You have to show your worth in other ways. And while Tyquan Thornton could also be someone that kind of cuts his teeth on special teams, I think I saw something on Twitter that Dave Toub talked about using him as a gunner on kickoffs. Maybe that's a situation where the Chiefs can justify taking Tyquan Thornton as a special teamer, but the spots are thin. They just don't have, all the space in the world for wide receivers. And with Nico Riho showing out the way that he has, I think he's probably going to end up taking that number 6 spot, especially with the way that Dave Toub has talked about him. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, we're less than a week into training camp, and it seems like we have pretty definitively have the answer for who is going to be the Chiefs' number 6 wide receiver. Now, obviously, that can change. The Chiefs could just be putting on an act, but with the way that Dave Toub talked about Nico Riho, I think he's going to make this roster. But I do want to hear from you guys down in the comment section below. That's all the time I have in this video. Hit that like button, subscribe for more daily Chiefs content. Until next time, guys, thank you for watching, and as always, go Chiefs.